Okay, now that you've had a little introduction to Twitter, let's talk about how it's used for marketing purposes. Like you know, it reaches a wide audience and can handle both B2B and B2C conversations. So it's a very useful tool. A great thing about Twitter is that it's still growing today in both number of users and number of tweets. And it is a platform where people go to find the latest news and immediate real-time updates. And so companies can use those facts to really frame how they use Twitter as a marketing tool. And Twitter is used for one of two general reasons. By companies. The first being to convey information. It is, like we talked about, an immediate tool. It's where customers go to get the latest at the moment updates. And so if there's a very important piece of information or a timely piece of information, Twitter is a great place to post that. Companies also use Twitter to start or participate in a conversation about their brand. And so Twitter is often used for customer service purposes. And so it's a great way to communicate directly with your customers. Um, in this lecture, again, we're focusing on organic marketing, and we'll come back to the paid advertising later. So we're going to talk about really how to create a Twitter profile and how to talk to customers organically. And so when you create a Twitter profile for a company, it's the exact same way as you would do one for a personal page, but there's a couple different elements that you'll see just slightly different from your personal page. But the company's profile page plays a large role in the viewer's decision regarding whether or not to follow the page. And so it's critical that companies have a complete profile and that they customize that profile page. And the two most important areas to customize, the first is your avatar, because that picture will show up next to every tweet and will be the visual that your followers see every time you communicate with them. A lot of companies will use their logo, which is a good idea if your logo visually fits into a square box. But people, consumers, tend to respond better to faces or alternative images in the avatar space versus just the company logo. So your company logo can feel a little cold to the customer, but if you're using the face of a mascot or a well-known employee, or you're using an image of a product or a scene from another media form, that can be more effective in that space. It's also very important that the brand utilize the little space available to them on the page to describe their brand and tell their story. There's only 160 characters in that space, and you have to let people know what makes your business special and why they should follow you, because that's what they're going to see there. And so most companies use that to write a description of maybe their best known product or something that they want their customers to remember most. And so utilizing all the space on the Twitter profile will just make your brand more attractive to people to follow. All right, so once you get that page set up, it's time to start posting content. And creating valuable content for Twitter is very tricky because content has to be timely and relevant, but it also has to be short. Twitter and most microblog sites only allow for 140 characters. And yes, that includes spaces. And yes, that includes punctuation. And so you have very limited space to tell your story, to get your message out there. Joe Calm wrote a book called Twitter Power, and it's on version 3.0 right now. But in version 2.0, he actually outlines 6 different types of tweets that he sees. And these relate very closely to how businesses tweet on Twitter. And so when he talked about these tweets, he first talked about the classic tweet. And you see this both in personal and professional use. But classic tweets are, "This is what I'm doing right now." Hey, I just went to the grocery store and bought milk. Or maybe from a corporate perspective, hi, I just released the new version of the iPhone today. So it's classic. This is what you're doing right now. Opinion tweets, this is what I think right now. We feel that our iPhone is much better than all other smartphones on the market. That's an opinion tweet. Mission accomplished tweets. This is what I've just done. Skittles has some mission accomplished tweets. We just sold our 1 millionth bag of Skittles. Fast food restaurants, we just sold our 1 billionth burger. So mission accomplished tweets about what you've just done. Entertainment tweets. This is I'm making you laugh right now. So we see a lot of brands using humor on Twitter. Content on Twitter can be humorous and it can also be serious. Again, it all really depends on, are you focusing on that consumer or are you focusing on more B2B messages? But sometimes the entertaining tweets are the reason why people begin to follow brands or companies, and then companies will also use classic tweets or opinion tweets to provide information. Picture tweets. Look at what I've been doing. So just like with Facebook, having pictures on your Twitter content increases engagement by exponential amounts. On Twitter, you're often trying to lead customers to another place with your content. And so an example would be posting a link to an article that falls back on your company website, or you might be directing them to a special place to sign up for an email campaign, or you might be directing them to a place to print out a coupon. But a lot of times companies will use Twitter to lead customers to another place. And it's another great practice with your Twitter content to respond to your customers. And retweet is the language in Twitter. And on Twitter, companies try to share content and they try to use promotions as well. But kind of a rule is a 10-to-1 ratio. And what that's saying is companies should be promoting others and sharing content 10 times for every one promotional tweet about their products or company. The Chick-fil-A page is a great example of a 10-to-1 ratio, and this is their promotional tweet. Hungry, get your order started now with the CFA One app, and then there's a link to where you can download the app there. But if you look, and this post was from June 16th, and so if you go back to the Chick-fil-A Twitter page around about mid-June, you'll see that they are retweeting customers, they're responding to customers, they are posting some of their cow advertisements to make people laugh, their entertainment tweets. And then they have a promotional one thrown in every once in a while. But consumers respond best when companies aren't forcefully promoting to them on Twitter. And so they want to see humorous, they want to see entertainment tweets, they want to see picture tweets, they want to see opinion tweets, classic tweets, and occasionally they don't mind being promoted to. So go back and take a look at your favorite brands' Twitter pages and see what types of tweets they're using most and try to look and see if they follow that 10-to-1 rule and if they're doing a good job of promoting others and sharing content and responding to customers on their Twitter page. So now that you know what to post, let's talk about how often you should be posting on Twitter. The nature of Twitter requires companies to post on the platform more so than other platforms. The life of a tweet is 19 to 24 minutes, and that's it. So if your customers aren't online in that 20 minutes, they're going to miss it. Just think about how many tweets you see when you log on to Twitter. Next time you log on, take a look at the timestamps as you scroll. Unless you're a professional Twitter stalker, you're probably not going as far back in time as you would think you are. There's hundreds of thousands of tweets posted every single second. And so if the average Twitter user is following 500 plus accounts, they get lost very quickly. So a quick Google search might tell you that you should be tweeting 14 to 20 times a day in order to stay relevant, but that's not the case. That's a myth. There's no need to be tweeting that much. Social Bakers ran a study, and they took a sample of 11,000 tweets from the top brands on Twitter. And what they found was that 3 to 5 tweets per day is the magic number. When you post more than 3 times a day, your engagement actually decreases. And so for Twitter, what you want to do is you want to focus on your engagements per tweet. So your engagements per tweet. Your engagement rates as you post more each day become less and less. So you have to start thinking about the value that you're receiving for each tweet that you post. And if you're posting 14 to 20 times a day, the value per tweet is much lower than if you'd be posting 3 to 5 times a day with higher engagement. All right, so now that we know we need to post 3 to 5 tweets a day, let's talk about when we should be posting those tweets. And when to post on Twitter, just like LinkedIn and Facebook and every other social networking platform we're going to talk about. Timing is a very tricky question. It really depends on the individual company and the audience. And generally speaking, if you're using Twitter for business-to-business conversations, you're going to have more success tweeting during the work week. And Quick Sprout study also stated you're going to get more interaction from your consumers on the weekends through the Twitter platform. So if you're going that B2B route, you want to be tweeting during the weekday. If you're going that B2C, you want to focus on that weekend time frame. Timing on Twitter is really inconclusive, but some studies recommend posting around noon and between 5 and 6 p.m. And they say that those times really maximize your potential for retweets and other forms of engagement. So if you're thinking about when people are on social media, you've got that lunch hour and that afternoon rush hour. So people are checking their phone, they are scrolling through social media, and you're more likely to get higher engagement during that time frame. So that's kind of the general rule of thumb. But to wrap up our conversation on Twitter, you're going to go back in and, again, watch a video on this social network on how to optimize your business profile. And so this will give you a little more, a deeper insight into how to set up that profile for a business. And that brings us to the end of Chapter 6. And so you can now post in the discussion boards. You have all the information necessary to complete the quiz for Module 3.